Hey everybody, welcome to Fist. Yeah, Pastor, have you seen this? That's our segment where one of the pastors of Allen Creek Community Church comments on internet content you send us. And hey, we've got another video that we're going to comment on right here. Thank you for sending it in. And by the way, if you have something else you want to get a Christian worldview take on, because you find it interesting, curious, maybe you want to just know how this interacts with a Christian view of the world, send it to this address right here, this one, social@ac3.org. And now I am going to give you my take on this video, which is titled, Is This Star a Sign of the End Times? I'm terrified. Let's watch.
So there's that Star of Jacob that's popping up.
So scary,
They're
dude.
saying that this Star of Jacob is the same star that came
Okay, I have not heard of this. Okay, so my cold take's not going to be worth a whole bunch, but apparently there's a Star Jacob that has what? That came
about when Jesus was born, and that's the star that the wise men followed.
That's
That's
star.
super dope.
So apparently this star appears every 2,000 years, and there's people
Okay. Let's just pause there because I have looked at this. The Star of Bethlehem has been suggested to be many things. Like I think a lot of people, just when they have a simple reading, when they're children, are imagining that God manifested like this light body in low atmosphere, and it was just sort of like, moving along, and the wise men followed it. I think a much more subtle and probably realistic take on what this was a convergence. So that you had a convergence between the stars, which were our planets. The ancients didn't know that they were planets. So that Jupiter looks like a star, and when it converged on a larger star, then that looked like a new star. And then it moved off of that star, because of course the planets are moving much faster relative to the other stars. And then because of retrograde motion, it looked like the star moved back again over the same, that Jupiter moved out back again over Regulus. So we could go deeper into that. But I think I'm really sort of sympathetic to that particular explanation of what the Star of Bethlehem was. It sounds like he's saying that it's a star that shows up every 2,000 years. I know that this convergence that we're talking about is more regular than that. It's very rare, but it's not every 2,000 years rare. So I'd be curious what he thinks this is.
people saying that with this Star of Jacob appearing, that Jesus's return is inevitable.
Wow.
And one dude said that if it is the Star of Jacob, wouldn't it make sense that no one knew necessarily about Christ except for the three wise men, the shepherds, and Joseph and Mary? But it took 30 years for him to be known to the world. So could it be another 30 years before Jesus makes his appearance?
Got it. So, all right. So they're assuming this is a new appearing star, or a star that appears every 2,000 years. What would that be? I mean, that feels like that's not a star. Like stars on the normal star field that you're looking at are stars either in the Milky Way galaxy or actual galaxies, of which they are literally tens of billions. So those don't move. Not much. They are moving. The entire universe is moving. It's expanding. But relative to our lifetimes, they're not moving at all, as opposed to the planets. The planets are moving. You know what else is moving are comets. And comets do show up on very regular rhythms, and you can predict them. You can just know, like Halley's Comet. We know it comes every 75 years, something like that. So a star that shows up every 2,000 years would either have to be what we're talking about with the convergence idea, because that's a pretty regular occurrence, or one that can be regularly, predicted. It either has to be that, or it has to be a comet. And I'm sure that comets can show up every 2,000 years. They would have to be on some very long-range orbit that would bring them to our sun and then be hurled back into deep space orbit, and that we would see them on some regular basis, very, very intermittently, and perhaps that's what we're talking about, but I haven't heard anything about this. And I do think it's a less compelling explanation for the Star of Bethlehem. So I think what they're also trying to get themselves a get-out-of-jail-free card. So if they see this star, the Star of Jacob, I need to research that. I don't even know what that could be. But if there is such a heavenly body that makes an appearance, what they're trying to say is that doesn't mean that Jesus is coming back then. It could just be 30 years. And what's their premise? It's just this idea that the first time the star showed up, Jesus wait, there was another 30 years before he starts his public ministry. Yeah, as if that now is an interpretation, an interpretive principle, for us to apply to another heavenly body. Because God used a heavenly body to be part of the announcement of the Messiah into the world, I am not beyond that there is some level of astral theology. I don't know that we could deny that in principle, because the scriptures clearly show that the wise men followed an astrological phenomena to know the time and the place of the coming of Messiah. So it's not in principle something we can rule out as Christians. It's just that we're importing, just principles that are just highly speculative. That, okay, A, that it's the same star. Do we know that? I'd like to know. And then B, that Jesus' return would have to be within 30 years of that, because that's how it happened. It was 30 years between the Star of Bethlehem and the announcement of his ministry. I'm sorry, I don't love that. That doesn't feel like good scholarship to me. That's super speculative. So yeah, there's my take on this video. Again, not ruling out the idea that God could speak something or prepare us for something through astrological phenomena. I think that's within God's right to do. This just seems like a reach. Yep, sorry, that's my take. So we'll see you again here on Pastor Have You Seen This next time. Until then, ciao.